This is the plaintiff, Alex Levitsky. He says he rents out luxury cars to people looking for a thrill, and he hired the defendant to drive one of the cars and drop it off for a client. Unfortunately, the guy rear-ended his brother, who was driving a different car in front of him. Needless to say, there was extensive damage. The defendant started paying it off and then just stopped and disappeared. Well, he can't outrun the long arm of the law, and that's why he's here today, suing for the $1,518.10 he's still owed. This is the defendant, Robert Simmons. He says he was following the plaintiff's brother, who stopped abruptly because he was lost, and he crashed into him. The mishap was his brother's fault. Besides, he doesn't understand why the plaintiff doesn't have insurance on his expensive cars when he has it on his crummy old car, and he owes nothing. He's accused of rear-ending a luxury car.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket, the plaintiff has these luxury cars he rents out, hired the defendant to take one to a client, and the defendant rear-ends the plaintiff's brother. The defendant says it was the plaintiff's brother's fault. It's the case of, you rear-ended me, bro.
You're welcome. Alex Levitsky, you are suing Robert Simmons for $1,518.10 that you say he owes you for damage to a car that you own. Tell me what happened.
Well, we had an order to deliver some vehicles to a client of ours up in Cleveland.
Who's us?
A luxury car rental company that I own.
Okay, you own a company that does what?
We rent out luxury vehicles.
Okay, and you had an order to deliver some luxury vehicles for rental out in Cleveland, which is how far from where you are?
About an hour and a half, 2 hour drive. And I was short my regular guy, so Alexi said that he has a friend who would be more than willing to do it. And I knew Rob previously.
Wait, who said that?
My brother.
What's your brother's name?
Alexi.
What's your name?
Alex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ran out of names? Ran out of creativity?
No, we're from Russian. When our names were transferred into English translation, they became very similar, but in Russia, they're quite different.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
But anyway, I asked him if he had full coverage insurance, since they're the ones primary.
Who's they?
The driver's insurance is the one that covers in case of an accident.
Okay, so you were going to hire him and who else?
And my brother.
And your brother, who's not an owner in the company.
That is correct.
So you were going to pay your brother and you were going to pay him?
That is correct.
And how much were you going to pay them?
About $10 an hour.
Okay, and then what happens?
We deliver the vehicles. Then 5 days later, we're supposed to pick them back up. On our way from picking them back up.
Did you know him, by the way?
Yes, I did.
Did you know his driving record? Did you know anything about him? I mean,
yeah, I knew he was a close friend of my brother's, and they've been friends for quite a while, so I was acquainted with him. And then while they were driving on the way back, I went to go drop a car off, and my brother calls me and says that Rob rear-ended him. So I arrived.
What kind of car was he driving?
Who, Rob or
Rob?
Alex? He was driving an Infiniti FX35.
And what kind of car was your brother driving?
BMW Z4.
And both of them belong to your company?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, go on.
And according to my brother, Rob saw a girl on the right that distracted him, and he ended up rear-ending Alexi. They called me as soon as it happened.
How does your brother know that?
Because Rob told him.
Okay, so you say to me that your brother said to you that Rob said to him.
That is correct, yes.
Go ahead.
That is
a little bit of hearsay. All right, so
correct,
go on.
Yes. When I arrived, I looked at the damage. It was extensive.
It was or it wasn't?
To the BMW was pretty severe.
That's the one your brother was driving or the one he was driving?
No, that's the one my brother was driving.
Okay.
The trunk was pushed in, and so was the bumper.
Do you have pictures?
No, I do not.
Okay.
When I arrived, Rob said he did not want to call the police. And when he called his insurance company, they said that he only had liability. And I specifically asked him if he had full coverage insurance, because in the state of Ohio, it carries on over to any vehicle that you're driving. And he found out that he did not, so he said he was going to start making payments and pay it off.
Why don't you make it why don't you make your drivers show you their insurance?
Well, there was a little bit of trust there on that end. You know,
how'd that work out for you? How old is
obviously.
he? How old is he?
21.
Okay. How old are you?
27.
Okay. What happened? How pretty was she?
So if somebody rear ends the other person, is the person bringing up the rear automatically responsible?
Yes, they are all guilty, and we are all guilty for even driving cars in the first place.
Well, okay, a little extreme. Automatically guilty?
Yes.
Because?
Because it's the law.
What if the person in front backs up? Going inside the courtroom.
How did the accident happen?
We drove to Cleveland, and then on the way back, Alex split up with us, and I was driving behind Alexi, and he was driving the Z4, I was driving the Infiniti, and we came up to a stop, and I bumped into the back of his car.
Why did you bump into the back of his car?
I believed because he stopped very abruptly.
According to your answer to the complaint, you say he stopped very abruptly because he said he wasn't used to the feeling of the car.
Might have had
He said that?
brakes. Yes, at the time. We were kind of just yelling at each other, like, a lot. So I don't...
Did you have insurance to cover this?
No, I had liability.
You think he needed to have insurance. Tell me about that.
I thought that he would have to cover it since it was his car, but...
So
that's
your
not the
defense
case.
is that his brother stopped abruptly, so the accident isn't your fault?
I guess so.
Did you pay him any money?
I did. I don't remember the exact amount. I'm sure he
How much
does.
money did he pay you?
Pay me around $400.
Do you have some texts you wanted me to see?
Yes, the text was just confirming
Let
that
me see them.
That first text came in at about December 6th. Is the last time we talked until the beginning of September. That's how long he was MIA.
Did he ask you beforehand whether you had insurance?
Yes.
And you told him yes?
Yes. I was under the impression that I did have full coverage.
So you knew when you took the job that if anything happened, it would be on you because he's asking you if you were covered, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm not the smartest person in the world, like, clearly.
Here's text where you're saying, you'll get your money as soon as I'm on my feet. You act like a guy who thinks that it's his fault. You pay him $400. You told him that you were fully covered. Turns out you're not fully covered. And then you're saying it's his fault because he's not fully covered when you told him you were when you weren't. Let me see the receipts for the car. Did you have the work done?
Yes, we did.
What did you actually pay?
What is on there is what it actually cost us.
Who did you pay that to?
The guy that comes around that does all of our dents, things.
Okay, got it. All right, folks. You guys had a very clear understanding that if something happened, it would be on you because you admit that the guy asked you, are you insured to be able to drive these cars? And then as it turns out, the insurance that you had didn't cover it. I mean, it's not like you could say, I thought that when I was driving his car, he'd be responsible for it. I didn't know that was the agreement. You can't really say that in this situation. Okay? I find in favor of the plaintiff in the amount of $1,518.10. That's my verdict.
Well, he crashed the car and he's going to have to pay for it. So step on in here. Your reaction to the outcome of this case here?
I just feel like I just didn't have a good defense. And
No, it wasn't a very good defense because there was rear end damage on the car in front of you.
yeah,
Right. And so you think it was his fault for stopping suddenly?
I do.
Right. So what happened to your friendship with the plaintiff's brother now?
It's terminated. We're not really good friends at all.
Because of this accident?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And some other extremities, but
Okay. Right.
thanks.
Okay. So you hired him?
Yeah, well, won't make that mistake again.
What was the mistake exactly?
Hiring friends.
Okay. So these are like luxury vehicles, really fancy, mint condition.
That is
What
correct.
would it cost to like chauffeur Officer McIntosh around in like a Mercedes for an hour or so?
About $150 an hour.
Harvey?
Well, legally, there is a strong presumption the person bringing up the rear is indeed legally responsible.